What is the worst booking decision of all time in the WWE after Money in the Bank over the weekend? A lot of sad people on Twitter are saying it's Austin Theory or just Theory winning the Money in the Bank. I can think of far worse, and that's why we are here today. I'm joined by Tom and Jack. How are we doing, everybody?
Yeah.
We're ready for another fun-filled video of positivity?
Oh, yes.
Cupcakes and hand jobs?
Well, maybe less of the cupcakes. Why is Theory winning the Money in the Bank so revered and reviled by some people?
I don't know, Tom.
Because it's not a terrible shout.
For me, it's more the introduction of him late on. I wouldn't be as annoyed if he was always qualifying for the match and he was always in the mix. But it's the whole, that past 4 weeks of build doesn't matter because he's in there now. And
But he's Vince McMahon's boy toy.
Yeah.
We should be angry at that. He's going to get everything handed to him.
It's the legitimate Heat versus X-Pac Heat, isn't it? Debate again. I don't know.
Would you have felt the same about it had they had just one little segment backstage where Austin Theory just walks into Vince's office? Just a little something that kind of gives...
On the night?
Yeah.
I'd have still been annoyed, I think.
Title,
I think I'd have still probably been a bit annoyed.
Because I think that would have sort of sold it a bit more if it was just like him going, Vince, I lost my title, I want to be champion, put me in the briefcase
I get the point.
match.
I do get the point. But I don't think it's the worst booking decision of all time.
Of all time in the world. But we are here. We've brought a number of suggestions to the table. To a man. Tom, do you want to kick things off with your first one?
I do. Because
what is the worst one ever?
I'm the elder statesman of Cultaholic, so I'm going back in time. Way back in time. WWF bottling Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan.
Ooh.
Set the scene, Thomas.
Flair comes into WWF as the real world champion.
Or is it tag team champion? Who knows?
Well, it eventually became that, but initially it was the big chunky gold belt from WCW. And Bobby Heenan proudly demonstrating it at one point, going to Hulk Hogan's locker room, holding up the bat and having the door slammed in his face. Ric Flair comes in seeking out Hulk Hogan, saying, "You're the champ. I'm the champ. Let's do a thing." Now, they ran this on house shows, and the draw wasn't spectacular. And because the draw wasn't spectacular on the house shows, they bottled the whole thing. They were going to do Hogan.
Is that why?
Yeah.
I just assumed Hogan was like, no, I don't want to do it.
Don't work for me, brother.
No, it was going to be Hogan Flair at WrestleMania 8 at one point. WrestleMania 7 at one point.
I imagine Hogan would have won.
Was 8, sorry, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would have been, yeah, no doubt. I mean, how it would have gone, there's some stories they could have told, but there was talk that they could have done Flair versus Hogan at Mania 8. But a big part of that was the fact they ran these house shows where people weren't that bothered, and they went, "Oh, we best not do it then." And I genuinely believe that had they put this feud a little more front and center, because at that point when Flair came in, he was mixing up, he was having back and forth with Roddy Piper, ended up doing stuff with Randy Savage, and sort of he distanced himself more and more from Hogan in the center, and Hogan never really reacted to him. Had they put it front and center, I think that they would have captivated an audience more so, and it would have led down the line to better house show draws and a massive WrestleMania 7 main event. I think it asks the question to me, like WWF have forever been very petty Wayne-throp when it comes to WCW. And I wouldn't be surprised if WWF sort of deliberately sabotaged this to kind of make a point that WCW is inferior. So of course their champ won't draw against our champ, when really, had the whole company leaned into Flair being WCW champion the way that Bobby Heenan did, had they leaned into him being the real world champion the same way Bobby Heenan did, I think you'd have had a cracker of a feud in 1991. Instead, we got Hogan versus Sid and the late run-in from Papa Shango.
But that's the devil's advocate of the entire situation. We would have been robbed of an all-time WrestleMania moment if this Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan match actually happened.
Yeah, we would have been robbed of Savage and Flair and the whole Elizabeth, she was mine before she was yours. But I still feel like this would have been a thing. It did a good number when WCW ran it in '94. Main event at Bash of the Beach was Hogan's first match in WCW, and it was Hogan Flair. And compared to the pay-per-views around it, there's a lovely little spike on the rating.
Do you know why the house shows didn't draw that well?
I can only put it down to the fact that for years and years and years, Flair and WCW in general hadn't been presented as in any way a match for them, whether or not it ran in territories that weren't that bothered about it. Where I feel like had they put it a bit more in the center, it would have caught the imagination more.
Yeah, it's a bad booking decision by virtue of missed opportunity, Tom. And I like it as an option.
To play devil's advocate once again, how would the world have changed if it did actually happen? How would they have been better off if it did actually happen?
I love the idea that if I'm going to put my my writing head on, I love the idea of them having Ric Flair as the WWF World Champion post WrestleMania 8, and it would have given us a belter of a SummerSlam for Hogan to come back to them to do that again. I genuinely feel like Ric Flair as the top heel champion coming out of WrestleMania 8. I know a heel winning at WrestleMania. What are the chances of that?
8 years too early for that.
8 years too early.
Was Triple H the first one to win in the main
2000,
event?
yeah.
Wow.
He was, yeah.
Wow.
I just think that you could have made more. I mean, obviously WWF did well. They always do well despite itself. But I think they missed out on lots of money on the table for not running with Hogan and Flair in any major capacity. You know, outside of a match on Raw in 2002. Which was a thing they did.
Better late than never, eh? Better late than never. I tell you what, Tom's gone to the old school. I'm going to bring a modern day equivalent to the table. Can you speak about money on the table? That was the Fiend. That was the Fiend for a year and a half or whatever it was, a couple of years ago now, just before the pandemic kicked off. But then it all came to a screeching halt, for me at least, when in Saudi Arabia at Super Showdown 2020, 53-year-old Goldberg defeated mythical murder clown, this wonderful thing that Bray Wyatt had created in 2 minutes and 59 seconds. After the Fiend had survived that feud with Rollins where he'd been thrown into pyro, came back from that. What did it take for Goldberg to defeat the Fiend in 2 minutes and 59 seconds? It took a couple of spears and half a jackhammer. Half a jackhammer. Not even a full proper jackhammer. 2 minutes and 59 seconds. That entire year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was at that point of build, had been completely pissed away from me. And plainly, it was never the same again for the Fiend. Yes, we got WrestleMania 36 in the pandemic with John Cena and that wonderful, weird, whatever acid trip that was. But then you go forward to another year and he's gone.
Yeah.
So it never really recovered, did it, from that?
Oh,
I wouldn't even say it was half a jackhammer. I said it was a schooner jackhammer.
I remember us watching that. Quite a few of us, because we were doing a live stream at the time, and we were all like, it was like subbing in and out of the live stream.
And we were joking, weren't we?
We were like, imagine if Goldberg won. I remember we all gathered in the room at the end to watch Goldberg versus the Fiend because it was the big attraction.
Yep.
And only 2 people were happy that Goldberg won. Me, for the carnage that it was going to cause, and Sam. I still don't know why.
It did, Sam, because Sam was on this weird thing of going, it's a good thing that Goldberg should beat the Fiend.
Sam's argument was that, and I got a part of it, to be fair, it just never panned out the way that he was hoping it would, was that Fiend shouldn't need or want the belt. He should want to like wreak havoc or whatever. So I get it from that point of view, but that's not what WWE did.
No, they made a right mess from the get-go, because it sort of got towards Halloween of 2019 it would have been. And the Fiend obviously made his physical debut at SummerSlam 2019 against Finn Balor. And it was
That was class,
Yeah,
man.
that was class. It was all going well up until Halloween. And they seemed to have thought, oh my God, it's Halloween. We need to sell spooky masks and whatnot. Let's make the Fiend Universal Champion about a year, 2 years more sooner than it should have been. And it just seemed everything happened double quick speed. And then we got to this match at Super Showdown and it just never recovered. And the worst thing was, after getting beat inside 3 minutes by a 53-year-old man who couldn't do his finishing move properly, the Fiend ran away after the bell. I forgot about this part, but I watched it. He ran away.
Did he teleport away?
Yeah, just teleported away, ran away.
Does that count as running away?
I'm going to say it again. Pussy ass bitch.
Does teleporting away not count as getting your heat back? Because it reminds everyone I'm magic.
There was like a square
power.
off. They were peacocking each other, and he buggered off, so he did. So in my book, that means he's a fanny.
Guys, and so to kind of mirror your question to Tom, where do you think the Fiend would be now if he'd won that match?
Well, that's the thing. It surrounds the entire. We keep having this. Obviously, after Money in the Bank 2022, as we're sat here now, they've created 2. Well, it looks like they're going to try and create 2 new stars with Theory and Liv Morgan. That's a good thing. But at this time, they had created a new star here. They created a modern day Undertaker with the aura of the Fiend and all that sort of stuff. I know that a lot of people were sort of not liking the children's TV presenter side of it, but the other side of it, I like both. I like the
contrast.
Juxtaposition.
Yeah,
juxtaposition.
That's a lovely word, isn't it? The juxtaposition of the piece. I thought he was onto a winner there, and they pissed it away. And it goes back to that thing of creating new stars. They had it there. The investment they put into this thing over that year and a half, whatever it was was all hunky dory up until that autumn of 2019, where they thought, oh my God, let's get the money on the table right now. Masks. Fiend. Hell in a Cell against Rollins. That happened. That was a thing that happened.
DQ in a Hell in a Cell
my
match.
God, how could they do X-Pac? That was a good X-Pac, that.
Yeah, it was
Thank
good.
you.
He's never been back since.
So yeah, it was just that entire thing of creating new stars, and they had it here, and they obviously put nostalgia, as they often do, over this bona fide new star, and he just never recovered, did he? So they pissed that one away, and I think that's one of the worst modern day booking decisions of all time,
It's very fair.
if that makes
Very
any
fair
sense.
point.
Jack, what's your first one? We'll bring the
Well, I've only got one, but it's a collection. It's a whole series of bad booking decisions rolled into one. So mine is the aftermath, or the what became of the Summer of Punk.
set the table.
Well, first of all, the Summer of Punk came about because of the pipe bomb and the fact that Punk had built up this incredible kind of internet following, like many people have, like Cesaro and everybody. But he actually came out and spoke a lot of. He was the voice of the voiceless. He spoke a lot of the frustrations that internet-based fans had with WWE for 10 years since they became the monopoly basically of the business, and suddenly it introduced this whole new dynamic where it was like a lot of what he was doing worked in kayfabe but was real as well, and he was saying like did that promo with Vince in the ring where he was like, you've not given chances to people like Luke Gallows who's worked his ass out and all this sort of stuff. It was fantastic, and they capped it off with an amazing match against John Cena, but that just seemed to be the start, because then he took the belt and ran away, and then
He
everything.
never came back.
Well, he should have popped up in other places. He did one
Yeah.
appearance at, I think, a Comic-Con or something where he interrupted Triple H, and that was really exciting.
Did he
But-
pop up at another indie as well?
Did he?
I seem to think why am I thinking he popped up at Ring of Honor?
He said he was going to.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
He used to
of.
wrestle there. I don't know if you knew this back in like
I heard a rumor.
2005. He did this thing.
Oh, and Tony Khan was running it.
Tony Khan was in
Tony
the front
Khan's
row.
Ring of Honor. But then, and I was checking this before this video, and Fraser notified me that CM Punk came back a week after.
Yeah.
So he didn't come back the night after Money in the Bank 2011, but he came back the next week. New theme music, obviously Cult of Personality, and it's all interesting. He does the belt raise, and then Cena's got the other belt, the interim one, or they classed that as the real one, but Punk still had the real one. And I've put in my notes as well, also that Cena thing was bollocks. So this is the first misstep. Remember, Punk coming back too early, but also Cena screwed Rey Mysterio out of the WWE Championship.
They did that
night.
whole tournament, and then they had the finals at the opening match of Raw, and then they went, oh, by the way, you're facing Cena in the main
Well, Cena
event.
never got his rematch from
Yeah.
Punk, but don't give it to him then.
No.
And also, yeah, Ray had been world heavyweight champion before, but this was his first and only WWE title reign.
He
as
held it
well.
for 2 hours.
Oh well,
Yeah.
what 2 hours?
What
it
do you
was.
want, Ray?
Yeah. We get to SummerSlam with the big Cena Punk rematch, which I remember being all right. It wasn't as good as the Money in the Bank one, but the finish was weird because Triple H was the special guest referee. Cena's foot is under the ropes. Triple H counts 3 anyway, leaving a bit of doubt. And then afterwards, it all goes wrong. So Kevin Nash comes out, jackknife powerbomb to Punk, Del Rio cashes in, and now Del Rio, for some reason, is WWE champion. Was this when they were trying to get sort of the Mexican audience with a new hero for them?
You'd assume so, wouldn't you? That Mexican peg fits that Mexican hole.
Yeah, I guess so. As the saying
Famous saying
goes.
goes.
And then in the aftermath, we learned that Kevin Nash said that he was texted instructions to stick the winner of the match, whoever it is. But then it emerges, no, Kevin Nash texted himself.
Yeah.
What? So it's already going wrong. Triple H then fires Kevin Nash and books himself against CM Punk with Triple H's job on the line at Night of Champions in a no DQ match. Cena, meanwhile, at that event, wins the title from Del Rio, so we're back to square one there. I don't know why Del Rio won it in the first place. Punk loses to Triple H after interference from, can you name the 3 people who interfered in the match?
Which event was this?
Night of Champions 2011.
Oh my
Kevin
God.
Nash.
Kevin Nash was one, yes. Can you remember the other 2?
Vince.
No.
I can't remember that.
It
far
was
back.
Miz and Truth.
Oh God, I
Yes. 'cause
Smoking our
At
truth.
the time, they were...
Was this before the Hell in a Cell match or after?
This is just before.
Just before, because that angle. That
Well,
was the
they were the-
realest it's been.
They
for
were the
many
real
years.
CM Punk. They were
Yeah.
shooting on... Yeah.
Getting arrested by real police inside WWE Hell in a Cell. My God.
Well, Triple H grants Punk the rematch he never received at Hell in a Cell in a triple threat with Cena and Del Rio. Del Rio wins with Punk taking the fall. He got hit with a lead pipe, but Punk's taking the fall there. Miz and R-Truth attack everyone afterwards. It's like the Nexus are back. They're attacking referees and the crew. The actual police arrest them. And then, this is a bit that I'd forgot happened. Triple H attacks them while they're in handcuffs. He just beats them both up. I don't know why.
He's Triple H.
Well, yeah.
That's why.
I guess so. We get to Vengeance. Punk and Triple H team up to face Miz and R-Truth.
It's a mess, isn't it?
Kevin Nash interferes, and once again, Punk takes the fall. Finally, this should have been a whole story. Punk should have been treated like Cody Rhodes was before his injury. He should never have been losing. He should have been like the biggest name in the company. Finally, at Survivor Series, Punk beats Del Rio to finally win that title back, and that would lead to his record-breaking run. But it's not the main event, because The Rock's back by this point and is teaming with John Cena. So that's very much the spotlight now in the build to WrestleMania. And the last step in this, sorry about how long this has been, at TLC, we finally get the culmination of the Summer of Punk. Not Punk beating Del Rio in a rematch, although that does happen, but the real culmination, which is Triple H versus Kevin Nash in a sledgehammer ladder match. Triple H, I've read a recap to find out how this match ended. Triple H gets the sledgehammer, knocks Nash off the ladder through a table, then pedigrees him. Then Nash begs for mercy with the two sweet, we're still friends. And Triple H goes, suck it. And then hits him with the hammer and gets the win.
Just like he did to Shawn Michaels all those years before.
And that is how the Summer of Punk ended with Triple H versus Kevin Nash.
The obvious way, of course. That's how you put CM Punk over, by having Kevin Nash and Triple H fighting a sledgehammer ladder match.
Now, to me, there's too much going on, and obviously
that is the understatement, I think.
Why are Miz and Truth involved? What's it all about Triple H for? What's with Nash? And also, in hindsight, I think the whole mess that it is and the creative misdirections going on all over the place, I think is because of probably a lot of disagreements backstage.
Yeah.
It seems, and I love Triple H, so I don't want to suggest this, but it seems like he was maybe trying to piggyback off Punk's momentum a little bit and make it all about himself.
I think it was clear from years before that Triple H didn't like Punk, did he?
No.
And that's just sort of carried on into this, and Triple H has made the best of it for him.
I think Punk even said in that podcast with Colt Cabana, the famous podcast after he left, that he always got on with Vince fine. Like, he didn't particularly... They didn't share the same vision or anything, but Vince was upset when Punk left and everything. Whereas Triple H, they never got on. No.
Yeah.
Do you remember it was Survivor Series 2005, and it was Triple H and Shawn Michaels, the Hardys, and CM Punk, and the crowd were all chanting CM Punk, to which Triple H went, "That's right, my friend CM Punk."
It was like,
do my catchphrase.
It was
so weird.
It was reminiscent to me of when Zack Ryder got organically popular, and then suddenly he was John Cena's best mate, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, Cena loves him." And he's a loser, and his girlfriend's left him, and he's been pushed off the ramp by Kane.
So what do you think should have? How should it have ended? The Summer of Punk.
Do you know what? Right?
Should it have gone into the Autumn of Punk?
Yes. Well, I've gone all the way to the winter there.
The winter of discontent.
It was. I wouldn't. This is the weird thing about it, but I wouldn't change what happened now, because if it had been a success, who knows where Punk would have ended up. I feel like they still wouldn't have wanted to give him the big WrestleMania main event level push that he wanted, because he was CM Punk, he didn't get on with them, and he didn't look like their version of a star and all that sort of thing. But I wouldn't change it, because I think without this happening, the kind of the discontent and what Punk stood for kind of fades away, because he's got it and he's won and he's been proven right. So then everyone kind of settles back into the sort of malaise that WWE booking can often be.
Yeah.
Whereas because he got screwed over and because it ended so badly and he got fired, this fire still burns. That's what I was going to say. But so I don't think without that you would have got the Yes Movement and Bryan winning at WrestleMania, and then I don't think you would have eventually got AEW essentially. So, and I like the fact that we've got competition again in wrestling. So even though it was a terrible booking sequence of events and I hated it, I don't think I would have changed it actually.
I just wish they had the bollocks after he runs away with the title after that match with Cena to actually have him run away. I can see obviously why they didn't want to have him off TV for a long period of time, because he was the most popular thing going back then. And I can see why they want him back on TV straight away. But it should never have been a week later, him coming back with that title.
Too soon.
Yeah, it should have at least been a month. But I can see obviously why they would want him back on.
A lot of booking decisions, and the bad ones in particular, has had to come down to WWE serving two different masters, whereby in a creative sense, well, this is good storytelling, but then, like with The Fiend, we got merch to sell.
Yeah.
Like with Punk, he's the hottest thing on telly. He's got to be on our
Executives are
telly.
going to go, why is this most popular guy not on your show anymore?
Why is he on another wrestling show putting over Gregory Iron? Like, why is he not
that
on
was
Raw?
it. Yeah, he turned up with somewhere with Gregory Iron, wasn't it?
Yeah,
was it Ring of Honor?
I
don't know.
It was definitely it was an indie promotion, and he put over Gregory Iron.
I feel like, and I can't see this ever happening because it's WWE and Vince and everything. But
Gregory
if they
Iron.
really wanted to, I think they should have had Punk. I don't think any wrestling promotion would have turned down having Punk appear. So I think they should have loaned him out to New Japan for one show or Ring of Honor for one show. But WWE would never have done that because it's helping the competition. So, but that would have, the intrigue around that would have been amazing.
But the brilliant thing is now, in 2022, Punk can do it again when he's back fit.
Yes, he can.
Yes, he can, with his own title and
And they can actually,
Moxley's
and I
title.
feel like they'll do that with, I think, AEW. And I mean, like, obviously there'll be a lot of AEW, anti-AEW sentiment watching this going, WWE worst booking decisions, just an emphasis. AEW make bad booking decisions too.
Oh, yeah, we'll do a
just
video on them,
They'll do
yeah.
a video on them. We're
Oh,
just
yeah, we
focusing on
should.
them
Yeah,
for
we should
now.
do that.
Just before anybody. you
Hello,
know,
the Nightmare Collective.
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't want anybody to get.
Justice for Mel. Where's Mel?
Don't
Where
anybody-
is Mel?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where is Mel?
I don't know.
I think she got released. On it.
Anyway, WWE. We stand for WWE here, and we're doing this in a loving sort of sense because we want them to be better. Therefore, we should highlight the bad stuff so they don't go down this sort of road again. Tom, do you want to bring your second one to the tab?
I do, yes. So my second pick, as we talk about the worst WWE booking decisions of all time, we talked about how the Fiend losing to Goldberg was a bad call. I'm actually going to roll this back and do a time where Goldberg was booked badly. I am talking about not making Goldberg the Destroyer in 2003.
Right.
So Goldberg...
Bloody Triple H again. Hey.
Oh, yeah.
Common denominator.
There's a common sledgehammer-wielding denominator. So Goldberg, when he rocked up in 2003 and gave Rock that spear, Rock put him over like Rover at Backlash 03. 03 run for Goldberg was marred by a lot of long-winded, jarring matches. Goldberg was never a long match guy. And obviously passing reference to Goldust putting wig on head of Goldberg. There we go, we've done that. But a lot of long matches that didn't really scan because Goldberg was very much a smash and grab style wrestler. But WWE were very reluctant to book anybody in like these squash matches, almost like you've got to work the WWE style. You've got to go long matches. Not really leaning into what's made somebody popular. They kind of started to get it around SummerSlam 2003, Elimination Chamber, Saint Anger Around My Neck.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
What a tune.
It is, isn't it? And Goldberg just running roughshod through the Elimination Chamber. Triple H going into the chamber injured, like he's taught a groin tear or something, and he's wearing those cycling shorts, like he's about to go on a bike ride with Jeremy Vine. And what?
Jeremy Vine.
And it looked like Goldberg was just going to run through everybody, spear Triple H, and win the world heavyweight championship. Happy days. No, because Triple H then hits him with the sledgehammer and pins him dead quick. Triple H has done nothing in this match because he's too injured. And they felt the need that instead of maybe putting Goldberg over really strong at SummerSlam, no, we can stretch this out another month. We can pull on this taffy a little more. And then we got to Unforgiven.
Yeah.
And the momentum was very shot then. Another long-winded, jarring match in Goldberg and Triple H. Triple H injured. Why does Triple H, when he's injured, have to go, I'll go an hour? It's like, it's fine, mate. You're injured.
No, because back then all the wrestlers had tiny dicks, didn't they? And you had to prove that that you could work brother for your dedication to the business instead of being sensible.
Exactly. Anyway, Goldberg won the world title eventually. He had another showdown, Survivor Series with Triple H. And then lost the belt back to Triple H at Armageddon in December, and it was just like, and all the while, like he wasn't really the focus of anything. And then it got to 2004, by which point crowd sentiment had really cooled on Goldberg because they went, he's a bit rubbish. He doesn't wrestle very good. And he got booed out of the building when he and Brock Lesnar were leaving, and Austin was the referee. And all they had to do was do what they did with Goldberg in 2016. Remember Goldberg returned in 2016? That's Goldberg at the door now. When Goldberg returned in 2016, and he had that match with Brock Lesnar. Now, obviously, it's divisive, but Goldberg won in like a minute and a half in the main event, and everyone.
I was so angry at that, but then
Were
I
you?
remember Dragon Eyes who pulled me to one side, and he's like, Ross, they've done that to create headlines. It's a good decision. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. And then they ran it back at WrestleMania and did the match they should have done at WrestleMania 20 with that 5-minute just.
That was a class match.
Whoa,
Yeah.
bomb affair.
And now all Goldberg does is come back and have these 2 or 3 minutes just of heavy hitting and then go away again. Had they booked that Goldberg in 2003, I think you'd have had a star on your hands. But it comes it comes all the way back to 1991 to Flair. And WWF almost going, they're from WCW. Yeah. They can't be stars. You've got to play our game. You're rubbish at our game. Well, then you're rubbish, full stop.
And it's weird as well because if you look at it, like Triple H is way more of a Southern style wrestler than Goldberg. Goldberg's like the Northern one. Goldberg's like the hero toppling all the villains. Triple H loves Ric Flair and wants to be Ric Flair. And he's trying to have these long heel runs as Ric Flair style champion, turning away all the favorites and stuff. But Flair always, I guess, there was an end point where he'd lose to Steamboat or whoever.
Yeah.
Whereas Triple H just keeps winning.
Triple H didn't read that far into the book.
Right. Yeah.
He got to like page 9 of 12 and went, "Oh, that'll do."
And it clashes weirdly because it's not typically WWE style booking where there's a Hogan or a Cena who's the hero champion. It's Triple H as the heel champion, and it's remembered as the Reign of Terror because it was like,
For that reason.
Do you think Goldberg? There's a few candidates to be fair, but do you reckon Goldberg's the biggest casualty of the Reign of Terror?
Oh gosh, there are a few casualties. I think maybe. If not him, then maybe Booker T. But I think
Scott Steiner.
Scott Steiner.
But I think Goldberg, in terms of somebody that had genuine potential to be a breakout star in WWE, had they let WCW Goldberg come in. But again, it's that arrogance and that ego of going, you can't beat our top guys easily because it makes it look. Shut up! It's wrestling.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I wouldn't have been. I was by that point. WCW had been shut 2 years, and they'd lost the the big storyline war and the real war. So by that point, does it really obviously it matters massively to WWE, presumably.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody from there.
Go to 2015 WrestleMania. Still mattered then for some reason.
Oh, Sting and Triple H.
Sting, yeah.
Oh.
That's the day they finally won the war in 2015.
a war that
14 years after the competition didn't even exist.
The dust on the dust had settled by that point. But yeah, I think not making Goldberg a WWE destroyer in 2003, I think, was a pretty miserable booking decision by WWE.
There was a period of time when I used to stick Brucey P's podcast with Conrad on while I was going to bed and going to sleep. So I might misremembered this one. I'm sure there's a lot of Bruce Pritchard saying that Goldberg was just rubbish behind the scenes. Like in certain scenes, because that was another thing that was a negative for me for Goldberg in his first run in WWE was they try to make him something he wasn't, which was a talking wrestler. Never have. Well, I know he's good now, and he said, "Oh, I do this for the kids, and I come back for my son, and this and all that." And he's a nice guy now, but back then he couldn't talk for toffee, could he?
No.
Go back to your taffy analogy.
And he shouldn't
couldn't talk
have
for that.
either.
No, just have him
No.
smash people
Yeah.
like Christian. Have him spear Christian 50 times in a row instead of having him cut 2 promos or whatever on that same show.
Yeah.
But they try to make him something he wasn't. And I remember there was some sort of thing involving a car on Raw and Goldberg and Brucey P breaking down that those behind the scenes segments. Now Goldberg wasn't in the right place he should have been for this bit, and he was in the right place for that bit. And maybe that was playing a part in what we were seeing on TV potentially. But again, it's just me just speculating. There was all the rumors of him being an arsehole back in the day. They did that behind the scenes documentary when he came back for the second time. And he was reconciling with Vince and him said, "Oh, I wasn't a very nice boy back in the day, and I've very much changed now."
It's a bit, I kind of Goldberg, if you're an arse, you're an arse. But then if he was this round peg forced into this square hole, of course you're going to be an arse about it. If what's made you, the company going, forget all that, we want you to be a serious wrestler that talks and has 20-minute matches.
To be fair, I've just realised as I'm saying that, arseholes behind the scenes who are booked well as well. Shawn Michaels. I
There
doubt
you go.
Goldberg was as bad as that. They can do it. They proved they can do it.
They
If you're an
can.
arsehole, they can give you good stuff on TV. But yeah, I agree with you. It was a load of bollocks, wasn't it?
Was a lot of
At least he
balance.
recovered and,
But yeah, and now he's the Goldberg that they potentially, arguably, should have been in 2003.
20
Just pops up, batters people, leaves again.
20 years too late.
It's the
I'll
Fiend.
bring another one to the table. And I spoke to this with Tom before we came to sit around this table. So I'll say what it is, and I'll let Tom explain everything.
All right,
Get ready
okay.
for a class with Tom Campbell, everybody. So mine's the invasion. And my main question, which has probably been answered a million times, but I'm going to say it anyway. My main question when it came to the invasion is why didn't they just wait until all those guaranteed AOL, WCW contracts had run up with your Flairs and your Goldbergs and your wasn't NWO. They were sort of halfway point, weren't they? Who were the ones who were on longer, like Flair and Goldberg
So
and Sting?
Flair, Goldberg, Sting, Nash, Hall, Steiner was on a DDP.
But DDP ended his with Booker T, didn't they, and got involved in the invasion angle.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? The ones who were sitting at home
They were
just
like
collecting
huge stars, yeah.
Yeah, the ones who were being sensible by not working and just getting money for nothing. Why did not just wait until all those contracts had finished and then done the angle then? Because it could have still been impactful if Vince had gone to them when he bought WCW and went, "Hey, Sting, hey, Kevin Nash, hey, whatever. Just wait, just sit on these contracts, just enjoy yourself, sit at home. Don't do anything big in wrestling because I've got this guaranteed angle that'll set the world on fire when the time is right and everybody's contract's up." Because just imagine like a Raw and you got like Stone Cold and whoever's The Rock in the ring at one point, and then they get attacked by 5 or 6 of these massive names from WCW, and then we do the invasion angle. That's my main question.
It'd be
And now Tom's going to see this question and show you why it's a stupid question.
Well, I don't know. Well, it's not a stupid question at all, but I don't know how much you know about this as well, Jack. But obviously, I'm sure you do. But because
not
it's
sure.
only because it's sort of front of house in my head. because on the Cultaholic Classic SmackDown review with Matthew, we're going through this process week by week. We're in 2001. So we've seen the purchase of WCW, and we're kind of seeing what their plans are. And it was
Shane and his boys.
Shane and his
boys.
Yeah, what's up, my boys?
And they're all miserable.
They bought WCW lock, stock, and barrel and the contract of 20 lower card guys. And the plan was early on they were going to launch a WCW show on a Saturday night. That potentially could have been called WCW Saturday Night Hard On. And that's one of the many potential names that it could have been. There's a whole bunch of...
What?
I don't believe you for a second. Not true.
There was a whole bunch of awful names they suggested for this show. And at this point, business was really down within wrestling. Like the outside terrestrial world was really down on professional wrestling. So nobody was really that interested in carrying more wrestling. I believe it was either USA or TNN, maybe the one that Raw was on, where they said, we'll carry a WCW show on a Saturday night, like 10 p.m. till midnight, but we want it to be a WCW show. And they're like, yeah, we've got, Chavo Guerrero and Buff Bagwell.
Oh.
And, we can put some of the, we can put The Rock on there and Chris Jericho and the company went, no, if you're going to do a WCW show, we want WCW talent. Like, we don't want a third WWF show. You're selling us World Championship Wrestling, a reboot, and we want the stars from that.
Yeah.
And of course, all the stars from that were on these massive deals that they'd struck with Time Warner to just sit at home and do nothing. Now, WWF could have bought them out of the deals, but the wrestlers would have gone, okay, well, I want what I was on for Time Warner. As you would, but that would have upset the pay grades of guys in the WWF. There were wrestlers such as Bradshaw and Hardcore Holly who would be upset about someone like Kevin Nash earning more than them. This is what I'm learning as I'm going through. And it would have caused a lot of upset within the locker room of these people coming in on ridiculous amounts of money.
It wouldn't be just that, because it brings me back to when Razor Ramon left. He was like, give me such and such. And then Vince was like, no, because if I gave you that, I'd have to give Undertaker that, Brett that. Then
so it completely upsets it rocks the boat with the pay stuff.
Because they had just come from WCW, who were giving everybody mad contracts.
Money. And of course you're not going to go down, are you?
No.
Unless obviously some people did do that, like Booker T, DDP.
Idiots.
I know, right?
They love the business.
They just love
DDP took that pay cut and then got squashed by the Undertaker.
But your point is that could they not have just held fire and done this in 2002?
Yeah.
Amazing. A WrestleMania built around WWF versus WCW. Well, here's the thing. At this point in 2001, WWF was on fumes. I've used the word snake bit a lot to describe the wrestling scene in 2022. 2001 says hold my RC cola, because you had so many wrestlers. Like you had at this point, the point that especially we're at the classic SmackDown review, Triple H is just torn his quads and he's gone. Multiple other guys from the top have also disappeared. The Rock has gone to Hollywood. You're down to like Steve Austin, who's working every show he can, but he is really injured.
Yeah.
The Undertaker is at the top and he's paggered. Kane's at the top and he's paggered. Week by week, other undercard guys are getting knocked back because they're having to really carry a lot of the heavy load. So you've got a roster that is really thin. They just come off a pay-per-view which drew really well, but the general consensus was this company is really stale. Austin is a heel with The Undertaker at the top, Triple H and Kane in the semi-main event, and then you've got nothing really else around there. So they were in a situation where we haven't got anybody we can really put in future programs. We need to do something. And we haven't quite reached that point yet in the podcast, but I'm pretty sure any week now, they're going to pan the whole idea of having a WCW show on a Saturday night and go, we're going to promote it as part of the WWF because it gives us access to a lot of healthy bodies that we could do with right now. And we can run it as an invasion. And you know what? The amazing thing is the invasion angle did some of the best money of 2001, even though it was, compared to what it could have been, a bit crap compared to what it could have been. But that's some of the reason. And also as well, kind of it comes back to the stuff with Flair and the stuff with Goldberg. WWF a bit like, we don't really want them to be too good because we're the best.
We're the good ones.
They're rubbish. So,
and to think with all this context here, the war or the failure of the invasion by and large has been, or the failure of WCW to become a thing after the invasion was over, was put down to Buff Bagwell and Booker T. And that match on Raw. Hey, all this context been added.
Now, the thing is as well with the invasion is that with what you had, okay, it was a far cry from what it could have been, But you could have still booked it in a way that captivated and added a little bit of jeopardy. But they just chose to go down the route of Undertaker and Kane battering Chronic every 10 minutes.
I feel like you've kind of, and again, they would never have done it, but you've kind of got to have WCW win the invasion for a bit, at least for a bit.
Yeah.
You got to have them on top, and they just didn't. They put Austin in the invasion because it was so lacking that sort of top name. In WWF size, it lacked that top name star power. DDP and Booker T, no one's heard of them.
Shane
Austin,
McMahon.
Shane McMahon and Steve Austin were the top guys in the alliance.
Stephanie McMahon, eh?
Stephanie.
Yeah, she was the boss of it all.
Nobody knows Paul Heyman and ECW, but they know Stephanie McMahon, so we'll put her in it too.
When the ECW lads sided with WCW, chills.
And then Shane wheels out Stephanie and she walks past Vince. Wow. Oh, what a moment.
Actually, the ECW roster for the invasion was probably the most true to true to form.
Apart from Steph.
Apart from Stephanie.
But yeah.
Hey, go back and watch an RVD pop from Raw in 2001. Fantastic scenes. I do that sometimes on occasion.
Just to go and watch
Just
how
go back, watch the pops.
gouge the reaction.
I do like an entrance theme and a pop. So this all boils down to, Tom, Vince McMahon's overworking of his superstars, the fact the invasion ended like it did.
Yeah, it was
up yours, Vince.
Coming off the back of like the hottest era in wrestling, where all of a sudden, like the golden, the gold at the end of the rainbow is pretty much depleted, and they're just like, we don't know what to do next. Invasion, yeah, let's do it.
It's mad, though, isn't it? Because looking at the house show model back then is very different to today. Because there's often people say, oh, they lose money on certain billings because ticket sales aren't very well. Back then, I assume they were still doing sellouts every year.
Well, you say that, but there was a house show that ran just after, I think, Backlash, which was on a Mother's Day, when they cancelled it. And it's a combination of the ticket sales were low and everybody's injured. So they had to cancel it completely. So that's kind of where you're at with the company. Like, everybody's baggered. We need something.
Aye, there we go then. That's why the invasion
But bad
failed.
booking decision is, very much so. You could have, whether or not you could have worked something out and still held off on doing it.
Because that's the thing with fantasy booking, isn't it? Like, this is sort of us doing sort of fantasy booking, taking an angle where we're thinking, oh, that's bad, and so showing how it could be better. You just disregard all real life implications, don't you? Things that actually were at play.
Anything that I remember in WCPW learning that, and that like the card is always subject to change, even if it's not. Something will go wrong.
And there is, if something does change, there is a pretty valid reason why things do change.
Right.
Yeah.
You know how everybody
Not to
tends
say that every bad booking decision.
Oh, no,
is
yeah.
that. There are still stupid booking decisions, but a lot of stuff, as fans, we just assume they've messed up when really it could have been unavoidable, I guess. But yeah.
A lot of times you're just going up against the cosmos, aren't you?
The trains are off. Just that sort of thing. Yeah.
Who's now? Is it Jack? You got another one?
No.
That was your big one. It is a big one, to be fair.
It was a big one.
You got any more, Tom?
I've only got one more. And we're going to go back in time to this one, something we've covered on the Cultaholic Classic Raw review, which is Lex Luger, the All-American hero, and his All-American count-out win at SummerSlam.
Oh, and he loved it. He celebrated.
Because he won the match.
He won the match, but
So?
But who cares about the title? He won the match for America.
Winner's
okay?
purse. Oh, right, well, for America.
He did the slam on July the 4th. Oh, happy birthday if you did the America. It was the anniversary of Lex Luger. Not the birthday of your nation, but the anniversary of Lex Luger.
It's Lex
on
Luger
that
Day
ship,
yesterday.
doing that slam to Yokozuna. But yeah, he won the match for America, didn't he? Just who cares about the title? Anyone from any country could win that title.
Have you seen? You've seen this? Have you?
The SummerSlam match.
Yeah.
The balloons raining down. Of course I have. It's a fantastic moment. The entire locker room comes out and hoists up Lex.
What was the? Are you going to
Fantastic.
talk about? What was the reason that they didn't just give it to Lex, the belt?
Now, from what I can gather, as we've gone through over time, WWF really liked Lex Luger as a potential new Hogan.
Yeah.
Which is why we did the stuff on the Intrepid and why we did like the Lex Express touring in America. But as
ham-fisted.
Did they never just
Really
step back and go, this guy's got no charisma whatsoever?
they were
Because
kind
that was
of
my issue with
they
him.
were
Have you
kind
seen
of
his body,
figuring
though?
that out.
Oh,
Those
huge
impre-
muscles.
Hey, Mace could only dream of having those calves.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Marseille.
Marseille.
They were kind of
Francois.
figuring out that he probably wasn't the guy as they'd already started the wheels in motion for the SummerSlam match as the Lex Express was on tour. Luger was not having a good time with it, and we've discovered this in years gone by that Luger was so jaded with trying to be the top guy. Like I think he did about maybe 3 stops on the Lex Express tour. And then from there, the bus just carried on without him. He flew to every city. Couldn't be arsed to live on the bus.
That's great. That's a great heel gimmick. That's fantastic.
And so I think by the time SummerSlam came round, they went, we don't think this is the hope, the great new Hulk Hogan that we were hoping it would be, but we've got this match. What do we do? And I genuinely think that it was a bad booking decision. Even if you didn't think he was the guy, you should have had him beat Yokozuna after all that build. I'm not saying he should have been the champ forever. I would say drop it back to him in a couple of weeks' time or whatever. But on that night, because it looks so stupid. And you said it. And you said it. It looks so stupid. It's
great, though.
He's won by count out. The big illegal forearm with the metal in it. Knocking out Yokozuna, 10 count, no title change, balloons, confetti. Like, it looks so bad. It's because they just, that point went, we can't pull the trigger on Luger. But
we still need a big payoff at the end of.
we need
Well, I
the
guess it was a
payoff
big
at the
show.
end, and
Yeah.
it's that, and it's just, you could have either just had Yoko beat him and then say no more about it, or had him have him win the belt. It's only wrestling; it's not real. Have him win the belt for a couple of weeks, and have him lose it back, just to give that moment a little bit of a less of a comedic recall, because it really was. Yeah, I think that they discovered midway through the angle that Luger's not going to be the guy. Oh dear.
I think regardless
drawing
of
board.
it's a weird catch-22 because regardless of whether they had him win the belt or not, I think we'd still be talking about it now. It's one of the worst bookings. We'd be like, they gave the belt to Luger. What? And then,
It's amazing though, because just hearing about the sort of the way they perceived Luger back then just made me think of Reigns in the last decade. That was like the Reigns of the 90s. Imagine how different the 90s would have been if they just said, right, this is the guy, and no matter what, we're just going to keep going and going and going until he finally gets there. They gave up with Luger.
Isn't it funny how you get some people like that who they go, people aren't biting on this, but we're going to push anyway. But I think people were biting on Luger based on what we've seen on episodes of Raw, but I think backstage they were going, nah. Whereas...
well, Reigns is really good.
Yeah,
Also,
that's the difference, is Reigns is very good.
And people could tell with Reigns, everyone had an inkling, like, just let him be cool. Just let him be himself. And they were always making him wink at the camera and say, suffering succotash.
But yeah, that's another bad one on in my part.
So there we go. We've been around the table a couple of times. There's our suggestions for the worst ever booking decision in WWE history. I was going to mention Raw being 3 hours, but that's not really what we're here to speak about today. So
We could talk about it.
well,
I need a wee quite bad.
he needs a wee. Let's go for a wee. Raw's 3 hours. It's a bad thing. It should be 2, maybe even 1 at a push. Nah, 2's a nice number, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a nice
two's a
number.
magic number.
But there we go. Let us know what you think down below is the worst booking decision ever in WWE history. I've been Ross, joined by Tom, joined by Jack. That is it for this video. We'll see you next time for these little random podcasts. We don't know what might come next. What might come? Let us know what you think should
Worst
come next as
AEW
well.
ones we could do
We'll
some
do that in the
worst
future.
AEW
Yeah.
bookings.
Aye. Say that, Tony Khan. Enjoy your piss, Jack.
Thank you.
All the best.
Yeah.